Yo, boys, it's your gangsta game developer. Ryan, yeah. There are so many other great ideas for intros I could have done. I guess that's the one I decided to go with. I cannot wear this hat anymore. Right, so between the time of me recording that intro and getting right back into this, which is a grand total of 5 or so seconds, there's a very angry cockroach within a 2-foot radius of me. I don't know where at. He was over here, but I don't see him anymore, so let's just not piss him off. Anyhow, alright guys, welcome to the 15th devlog. I'm back in the dusty basement, just like I was for the last devlog. Apparently people liked it. I'm not entirely sure why, but maybe I'll stick down here, I don't know. So, it's been about a month and a half since my last video. I've been working on the third layer of the Labyrinth here, as well as optimization. So I'm just gonna dig into the third layer of the Labyrinth, I'll explain what's going on, and I'm gonna try to not make this a very long video, because like always, I don't like to edit videos. It's time consuming as all hell. So like always, here's the timestamps, and let's just start off with what is the third layer of the Labyrinth. Well, the third layer of the Labyrinth, I like to have an overarching theme for each of the layers, and this one had originally started off as Hell. Hell kind of made me think like, alright, every enemy had to inflict the fire debuff or else it's just not Hell. And while that is mostly true, it's not entirely true now. So it took me a bit, but I decided on a Cavern theme. Like a cavern or a depth, like you're getting to the end of the Labyrinth, but you're not quite there yet. Now, as I showed off on Twitter and Instagram, I showed off the center generation. So the player actually starts off on a singular lone piece of the Labyrinth, and then there's like a giant gap where they have to navigate the gap, but that actually works for the third layer because presumably by this point in the game, you should have enough items or enough gear to navigate that gap pretty easily. So it doesn't take a long time to look at the third layer of the Labyrinth to realize that there's a lot of torches, there's a lot of light sources, and this is where a lot of the optimization is gone, but I'm not going to dig deep into that for this video. So there's a lot of torches, there's some bonfires on the ground, and there's also stalactites for the cavern kind of feel. These are all interactable in their own sort of way, and stalactites work similarly to the torches, where when they spawn they have a small chance to become enlarged and wieldable, if that's a word. Yeah, I guess wieldable is a word. Huh. So some stalactites can be large enough for the player to wield them as a spear. And these stalactites are really heavy, so the player can only really use a combo of 2 of them, but they deal out a lot of damage in exchange for the amount of combos. Now, aside from the stalactite, there's 2 other tier 4 weapons, one of them being the Molten Spear, and another one being the Obsidian Blade. Those are the ones that I've currently added. I'm going to be adding a karambit and a hammer, of course, and I think that's actually it for the weapons right now. So let's dive into the enemy section, I believe is the next one. The first enemy I'd like to mention, just to get it out of the way, it's not going to be a highlight, considering there's a wisp in both of the other labyrinths. There's a wisp in this labyrinth also. This is the depth wisp. They're more orange than anything, and they have a lot of speed, and they also keep their distance from the player, so you really need to manipulate your movement, and you need to be really quick to actually catch up to them, to actually attack them. You might need to abuse the gravity, like you might need to jump down from them, from above, or you might need to use a grapple hook to paralyze them, and then so that they stop moving so you can just wail on them there. I've also added more code to the Wisp AI so that they can shoot in a cone shape as opposed to a 360 degree shape around them. So the Depth Wisps utilize that, so they stay farther away from the player, but they shoot within a cone shape as opposed to a circular area around them. And these wisps also are the only things in the game that can inflict a direct secondary debuff. So instead of getting inflicted by fire twice, these wisps can straight up inflict you with hellfire, and that's even more destructive. But hopefully it's kind of balanced in the fact that by this point you should have enough defense and immunity to status effects. It shouldn't really be that much of a problem. So the next enemy I showed off was a bat on my Twitter, and he was actually a Zubat. And Game Freak, if you're watching this for some god unknown reason, don't sue me, I would be obliterated in court. And it was supposed to be a funny joke. It was a funny haha joke to really show my absolute comedic genius at work. I'm not a comedic genius, what am I talking? The bats act exactly as they would. They fly around, and they start gliding after the player if the player gets too close to them. The bats will also be able to rest on the ceiling, with like their wings folded and everything, so I thought that was kind of cool. The last enemy to mention is the Cerberus, which is actually the first enemy I came up with for this labyrinth because the original idea was hell. Right now, the Cerberus is a 3-headed dog that stands dormant until you get near him. I'm probably going to be changing that. I want to see if I can make him walk around the labyrinth a little more and give him a little more personality.
Take it back now, y'all. Cha-cha now, y'all.
They're currently very unfair. They are extremely quick. They can turn on a dime, and they shoot out projectiles, like 5 of them every second, pretty sure. And these projectiles arc up in the sky, and then they crash down, causing giant explosions. It's a run ender. It's not really fun. I'm gonna need to fix that, but I might include a clip of it here of me dying to it. Maybe a few clips of me dying to them, just because they are bastards. Honestly, they are bastards, for the lack of a better word. Now, upon killing a Cerberus, there's a chance that they will drop the Fireball gear, which is an AoE throwable gear. So they'll cause a giant explosion, they'll burn anything within the explosion, they'll also take out any other structures within the explosion. Now, speaking of gear, there's also a few more items I've added. There's only one actual chest item I've added so far, which is called the Quartz, which boosts not your critical rate, but your critical damage by 20%. So if you stack a bunch of those, your critical damage will be extreme, and it's probably an easy way to win the game now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm actually talking about it out loud. Never actually realized how broken that's probably going to be. Now, for this layer of the labyrinth, I'm going to be adding a bunch of different extraordinary items. Now, the extraordinary items are the rainbow ones that you find. They're like the shadow essence, they're like the cores of the labyrinth within the first layer. And these extraordinary items are dropped by a mini-boss on the layer, dependent on what current weapon type you have in your hand while they are defeated. So far, I've implemented 3 of them. The sword, the karambit, and the spear. So to begin with, the sword is called the Knight's Chainmail, and this adds 3 more hits to the actual base combo, and it also boosts the damage and the attack speed of your weapons, or of your swords, specifically. The next item is the Ninja Scroll, which is for the karambit, and it actually enables you to keep moving as you counter. It'll also boost your movement speed and prevent you from triggering any of the labyrinth traps while wielding a karambit. And the last one is called the Marksman's Blessing, which, of course, is for the spear. This one will enable the ability to just essentially regenerate the spear that you throw. The spear will not regenerate unless you hit an enemy with it, and it also doesn't count towards the in-game score with how many weapons you find. Now, I plan on adding a big extraordinary item for the hammer and even the fist, but I haven't gotten around to doing that quite yet. So, with the items out of the way, there's only one thing left, which is the dragon. The dragon is the boss of the 3rd layer of the labyrinth, and his name is Dread. Dread is a mostly stationary boss, but he will manage to test the player's movement to a level that no other enemies have been able to actually test. And he's currently lacking a second phase to the fight, so if you guys see any of the footage here, and you guys have ideas for different attacks he can perform, there's a comment section below. Now, the first attack I felt obligated to add was the Fire Breath attacks, which you see in just about any dragon in a fantasy setting. The Fire Breath attack will ignite the player, and it'll deal some extra damage, assuming that the player is within the collider. Now, the Fire Breath attack is actually a pretty difficult attack to dodge, due to how quick he turns and how quick he turns his head and in the direction that he moves his head. But a lot of this can be nullified if you have enough magical lamps. You can just kind of sit above where he's breathing fire. Dread also has the ability to cause a volcano to erupt and then proceed to fly above the arena high in the sky. This is to drain the player of their sleep time, and also so that they need to watch out for the volcano debris. Now, currently, he doesn't attack while he's flying high in the sky, but I might change that up, just to increase the intensity of the fight. And aside from those 2 moves, he can also do an AoE slam attack, which will cover the majority of the arena aside from the borders. The slam attack can also be used defensively if he realizes that you're too close to him, or if he's taking too much damage, he'll start to resort to that. Now, I believe that's everything I wanted to cover in this devlog. Last devlog, I had joked about speedrunning the September deadline to actually finish this game by then, and as of recording this on the 18th, the game would turn out god-awful if I tried to race for that deadline. Or at least the version would. So I'll try completing as much as I can. If I go too long and I deem it necessary, I'll make another devlog detailing what's going on and what my progress has been. I don't know where the hell that cockroach is. That cockroach was not part of my script, and I'm kind of scared, so I'm going to need to end this now and get the hell out of this basement. See you guys. Alright, just filmed this right after recording, and he was actually right behind me the entire time. So, you know what he's gonna get. Freaking Harry Potter years 5 through 7. Take that. Take that, man. Alright, yeah, no, man, the cockroach doesn't even want it.